Hi everybody, it's Javier Navarro, founder of Smart Customer Management and author of Smart Customer Management, the complete guide to customer-centric management. In this video, I'm going to introduce you the concept of Smart Customer Management, what its background is, and how you can generate significant profits and advantages for your business by building a winning strategy. I'm sure you might be wondering what Smart Customer Management is all about, and how you can develop a more customer-centric culture. Those are, of course, good questions that I'm going to address in just a few seconds. But first, let me tell you, this is the first video out of a series of 4 that are going to show you the basics of Smart Customer Management and how it can serve you and your business to seize a new wave of opportunities and benefits for time to come. So don't forget to sign up on the form on the right to get this free training video series and download a PDF with the key ideas introduced in this video by clicking on the link below. All that said, let's get started. The first thing I want you to keep in mind is that Smart Customer Management is not a fancy idea or crazy concept that I'm trying to tease you with, but the last step in the continued evolution of customers and companies. It might sound weird to you at first, but I like to compare customers and companies' evolution with that of humans, since if you take a closer look at how human evolution takes place, you will see we can draw some interesting conclusions for Smart Customer Management. Basically, human evolution is the history of how hominids evolved their brain capacity to be able to process more and more data about the environment they live in order to survive. Each time the chain of evolution advances, say for instance, from Homo habilis to Erectus or from Erectus to Sapiens, we realize humans become smarter and their ability to process more and more data increases. In terms of Darwin's theory, it's like if the struggle for existence would depend on the capacity of people to process more information and make something new with that knowledge that other animals can do. Human evolution reminds me of what customers and companies are exactly doing all the time. Basically, we'll try to process as much information as possible about each other, and the quest for a higher data processing capacity is at all times. In fact, you are now trying to process the information contained in this video and trying to figure out whether Smart Customer Management is something valuable for your business. What customers do is constantly gather information about products or services to see if there is something that meets their needs. On the other hand, companies are always trying to win new customers by delivering new products and services the customers want. What is radically different today from the time of first humans, or even the last century, is that we all live in a world of data, and that without data and the ability to convert that data into knowledge, we cannot develop as social individuals, and companies cannot win the race for customers. Do you still have some doubts about this? Okay, wait to see these numbers. 4 billion are the pieces of content that are shared every day on Facebook. 24 petabytes is the data per day processed by Google. And look at this, 500 million tweets per day. But you know, things have not always been this way. Of course, I'm not an historian. I'm not going to tell you here the history of customers and companies, which could be interesting, by the way. But let me focus a little bit on how the business ecosystem used to be just a few decades ago, particularly in the last century, to clearly understand the roots of Smart Customer Management. In those times, linearity was the norm for companies and consumers. Linearity means life was predictable and that customers and companies play a clear-cut role in the market system. You know, products were made for mass markets, distributed massively to retail shops, and the consumer was happy to get in her hands what she thought was the best product or service to solve her problem or satisfy her need. Linearity also meant low risk for those companies that knew the rules of mass advertising and had the resources to make use of mass media. It was only late in the 90s that customers started to get direct contact with companies, though interactions were few and difficult to time by consumers.
Most interactions with the companies were geographically limited to the city or state customers live in. The means of interaction were rudimentary compared to our current standards, and most of the times needed a time lapse for information to get from the customer side to the company side and vice versa. If you are not too young, you might still remember those dotted line boxes in newspapers and magazines with forms inside that you had to fill and cut with scissors to send to a P.O. box, so to have an answer only after 2 or 3 weeks. In general, information for customers was always scarce, and that made it difficult for them to compare products and services. At the end, consumers were prisoners of companies. What I want to say is that companies' way of thinking and doing was product-centric and self-contained, which means they didn't need the customer much except to pay for the products and services, and all in the organizations revolve around how to create the next product a customer could afford. Companies in these times enjoy overwhelming privileges consisting of unilaterally deciding things like the price, the place, the channels, and the promotions of the products and services the consumers were to purchase. And because companies had the data and the processing capacity to drive consumers' preferences and likes, customers simply were not free to decide. If a customer dared to deviate from the company's rules, she was deprived the right to buy from the company. Of course, marketing was secondary at this time, and most marketeers' job consisted of grouping customers into segments based on product features and then make some research on how many consumers like or dislike those features. I'm sure this sounds familiar to you.
But today everything has changed, and risk and uncertainty have taken the lead in the customer company's ecosystem. So what does all this mean for companies? Well, it means that companies have lost the power over the customer. And one of the main reasons for that is that data is no longer owned only by companies, but it has become an asset in the hands of millions and millions of customers and companies across the world. As a result, competition is fierce and tougher than ever before, no matter what market niche we talk about. And finally, customers are who control the game, which means they control the information and data processing capacity companies used to have.
3 factors are significantly contributing to change the business ecosystem forever. They are the information technologies, namely those technologies that help people and companies process more and more data and take better and informed decisions. Openness, that is all the values, processes, and customs that bring people and companies to share everything and tear down all mental and organizational boundaries. And e-commerce, the possibility to exchange everything with almost anybody in every corner of the world. No matter if you are a big corporation or you are at home, you can compete for the customer's business on quite similar conditions. Of course, these are not the only factors transforming the business ecosystem today, but I would say they are 3 of the most relevant for smart customer management. Okay, let me give you some numbers to support this so you can realize the size of the impact these factors are having. Regarding information technology, you must keep in mind not only the more than 2.4 billion internet world users that are there today, but the way these people is making the world change and pushing the companies forward to provide the tools and infrastructure to serve the customers. Open source, mobile and tablet devices, and cloud computing are just a few examples of how information technologies are revolutionizing the way we think and work forever, and nobody is oblivious of the impact they have. Openness is about tearing down all mental and organizational boundaries to open our doors to the outside world so that we can benefit from sharing our ideas to the world or bringing in a constant flow of ideas and resources. We all have the perception that the time we spend on social networks and online communities is growing every day. This is what we call social openness. But social openness, though it's one of the dimensions of openness you probably are more familiar with, is not the only one. In fact, openness is a multidimensional idea that involves areas such as business innovation, science, education, and the number of open fields is rapidly growing. Finally, e-commerce means opening the world for commerce and the ability to exchange almost anything with anybody regardless of geographic boundaries. E-commerce has helped to forget the old customer-centric and self-contained business models, and new ways for customer-companies relationships have emerged. The impact of e-commerce for B2B and B2C is so huge that a new world of opportunities and customers has opened up. A world where data and knowledge management is key for building up customer relationships.
My conclusion is that we all live in the new age of customers, which basically means these three things. The first is that the old era of product-centric and self-contained companies, which used to dictate the consumer what, how, or for how much purchasing a product is now dead. Instead, the customer has the power. I mean, the customer is no longer that passive being in the hands of big corporations or mass production companies, but she is now who dictates the what, how, or who to buy from. The customers is also the most important asset a company has. And the reason for that is that the customer is the only source of revenue for the company. I mean, forget any other thing. Forget about the CRM, the marketing, innovation, finance, accounting, because they do not generate revenue for the company. In the new age of customers, the customer is like the electrons that make the current flow from one point to the other and make the light come up.
The new age of customers is a new perspective whose effects are deep and long-lasting. This new perspective means linearity has been replaced by complexity, and new concepts arise that companies must pay attention to, since they are transforming the way companies and customers think and operate. Basically, what complexity involves is that the traditional customer-centric approach to value creation is superseded by a customer-centered approach focused on generating value to and from the customers while constantly taking care of them. It also involves that information and knowledge management must become an absolute priority for the company in order to build effective customer relationships and keep an open one-to-one dialogue with the customers. The new age of customers is definitely a revolution of the customers. We might even say it's like a tsunami that hits everybody. No matter what sort of organization you work with, public or private, big or small, for profit or not for profit, you will be affected. This revolution of the customer does not have geographical boundaries either, and hits every stage of the organization value chain, processes, infrastructures, and the way it operates and generates revenue.
For companies, the new age of customers means they must find a way to adapt themselves to the new rules. And the best way to do that is by following these 5 steps. The first step is about rethinking how the company creates and delivers value. The value of the company depends on its ability to remain flexible and keep a constant communication with the customers. The second step is about using a customer-oriented strategy. To use a customer-oriented strategy means to build relationships with the customers and focus entirely on the customer needs. The third step is about knowing the customer. Knowing the customer is fundamental to deliver value and focus on the customer. So the companies should invest as much as they can to know the customer. The fourth step is about engaging your customers. Engaging your customers means to open the doors of your company so that customers can collaborate and participate in your decisions and processes. And the fifth step is about customizing your offering. This means that you must work closely with your customers so that you can deliver solutions that no other competitor can. The important thing here is that in order to be successful in the new age of customers, you must integrate these 5 steps into a single course of action or a single framework. And guess what? This framework is exactly what smart customer management is all about.
Smart customer management is not a theory about what you can do to be more attractive to your customers or how you can deliver a better service. It's not even about how to take the first steps in the relational marketing field or in the social networking arena. Smart customer management is neither a philosophy nor an assortment of methods you can bring into action after making a statement of good intentions or showing a desire to change things. Smart customer management is fundamentally a strategy on how to put your customers at the core of your organization's thinking and decision making, and a lifelong path of change focused on building up long-lasting customer relationships aimed at meeting customer needs and expectations individually. The benefits of being a smart customer management-oriented organization are varied and far-reaching. By managing more data about your customers, you will be able to know your customers better, which means you will be in a better position to deliver the products and services your customers need. At the end, if you succeed in building trustful relationships with your customers, collaboration and co-creation will be at your fingertips, and you will be able to customize solutions and significantly improve customers' experience, thus making them more loyal and profitable. Smart customer management means that by putting your customers at the heart of your processes and decisions, your risks will be reduced and greater efficiency and cost savings will be piece of cake. Though smart customer management is a profitable strategy, I don't want to paint a rosy picture of smart customer management. Implementing smart customer management means changes in the culture and values of your organization, and these are not simple tasks. Smart customer management entails significant impacts, not only on the sales and marketing departments or those traditionally responsible for building up and sustaining customer relationships, but on all levels of your organization. Keep in mind that unless every member of the organization has a strong commitment and is accountable for creating value for the customer and look after the customer interests, your company will not remain competitive in the future. This means a good dose of leadership and entrepreneurial mindset.
Okay, so let's leave it here. I hope you now have a better idea of what the smart customer management is all about. Now, if you want to know more about the next steps in the process of building a real smart customer management organization, sign up on the forum on your right to get access to this free training video series. We are really at the beginning of the smart customer management work, and many interesting questions and challenges lie in front of us. I hope to see you on the other side. Bye.